you want a striker, you want that winger, that flashy winger, which obviously was the other positions we needed strengthening to do, and didn't happen.
Yeah, so we've probably got enough flashy wingers. We've collected a few of those. Maybe not wingers, more sort of inside forwards, whatever label you want to put on them. But I think the growing debate was, I mean, obviously there was a bit of a chat, certainly with the Wes Burns injury, that Ipswich haven't got that kind of bespoke right winger for the system that they've played under McKenna, that sort of straight line speedster in Ogbene, who we never really got to see, but we're told that that's what he, I think the idea was that he was an upgrade on Wes Burns in the summer, but we never got to see that with the Achilles injury. Now the Wes injury as well has left kind of Omari Hutchinson as the only sort of right wing option. I know there was a big clamour for Omari to play wide right at the start of the season because that's where he played a lot of his championship football, but Kieran clearly sees him more as a central 10. But both Wes and Chio will come back at some stage, so I can kind of see why they might sort of ride out that situation for the next few months with the players that they've got. The bigger sort of talking point was, well, the biggest is striker, let's be honest, isn't it? They've let Ali Al-Hamadi go out, and it's left them with two senior strikers in Liam Delap, who is carrying a hefty old burden on his sizable shoulders, first season in the Premier League. First season really playing as an out-and-out number 9 regularly, and then George Hurst, who we all know his sort of, unfortunately, his checkered injury record over the last year or so. So to only have those two going into the last few months is it's a risk, no doubt about it.
Yeah, how are you feeling about that, Alex, then, mate? Because, all window we were talking about it. Well, you probably did, you did a target piece about different strikers Town could target, and obviously none of those were signed, which sad.
Yeah,
is what it is.
Concerned for sure. I think that's fair. Because at the end of the day, Ipswich Town are, and probably would have been with another striker, but even more so now, would be a, God forbid, Liam Delap injury away from disaster at this point, because you don't want to rely on George Hurst for an extended period of time given his record, and then from there on, if you were, again, God forbid, to lose both of them at the same time, then you're looking at playing someone out of position. We saw Sammy Smodic start in that role against Newcastle. It didn't work. There are others who can do it, but for the way that Ipswich wants to play, I don't think it's going to work, especially for an extended period. Continue with the striker thing. I think that you can really appreciate how hard it is, because it's such a difficult role to sell, where the money becomes a factor, as does having the right profile as a striker, as does the fact that you've got to sell the fact that you're not going to be signed to start. You're not going to start over Liam Delap at the moment, and your minutes are going to come from the bench, and you might be told, look, at the end of the day, let's all be realistic here. There's a good chance Liam Delap leaves in the summer, and if that happens, then there's an opportunity for you to step up and play more regular minutes there. And that's a tough sell, especially for a team that's going to be in a relegation battle. So I can appreciate how hard it is, but it is, of course, a major disappointment. On the flip side as well, with the right winger thing, contrasted kind of to what Stu says, that is also an area that worries me, just because of the lack of specialist options, and it is a real specialist role in a Kieran McKenna system. So to not have that is an issue. Obviously, if they play with the 3 centre-backs, you can play Ben Johnson, but then there's no other real kind of right wing-back style player. There's no option there who can do both, in my eyes. So, for example, when you have the 4-2-3-1 and you have Wes there, then you can play him as a natural winger, but he can also come into that wing-back role. Ben Johnson, for me, isn't the natural kind of winger, even though he's a wing-back, and you're not going to play Omari in a role where he's going to kind of make it into a 3-5... 3-5-2 or 3-4-3 or whatever you want to call it in that position. He's not going to do that. So the fact that the 2 players who were signed for that role are both out injured is a blow. And I know that they will be back, but not at least having some short-term cover there. The loan market, for example, doing something to fill that gap with a more specialised player, I think is disappointing. But with both that position and with the striker, you have to appreciate how hard it is, especially in January.